Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is considered one of the most iconic horror short story collections. So does it work as a feature film? Kind of. Now, what people tend to remember most from the books is the artwork. And this film does have a lot of the iconic, creepy artwork from the books converted into live action form. All the most memorable stories get their time to shine in one way or another in this film. The woman who lost her toe, the jangly man, the pale-faced lady, as well as others. And I do appreciate the majority of these characters as practical effects, especially the pale-faced lady. She is going to be haunting my nightmares tonight. Honestly, there's very little CGI used in this film, and the times where it is used, it's only because they probably couldn't have done it as good as practical effects. However, it does feel like the writers chose to use the imagery first and plot second, as the plot feels extremely overly familiar. It borrows from Inkheart, Goosebumps, and Death Note. It has the group of kids who come together, and they each get picked off by a certain fear that they have, trying to stop the evil book from letting things out. And yeah, you've kind of seen this before in other things. And on top of that, the film doesn't really have much resolution. There is some resolution to the story, especially kind of this twist ending that was actually pretty good. But not everything is resolved. And from the ending narration, they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, we forgot to resolve this, but just come back. We're gonna do a sequel. The sequel will resolve this." Remember the two characters that we don't really know what happened to them? Yeah, well, that's what the sequel is going to be about. They make it very clear that they were intended for there to be a sequel, even though there, as far as I know, hasn't really been one confirmed yet. However, I also think that despite the PG-13 rating, it went a little too extreme with some of the gross-out scenes. I don't think I'll ever be able to eat chili again, and the part with the spiders made me very squeamish. So I think it did borrow a little too heavily from other stories, though I did appreciate the practical effects. But the problem is that they're basically trying to adapt stories that are like 1 or 2 pages, sometimes less, and trying to adapt that into a feature film. Like, that's not even enough content to make a TV show. Goosebumps had the advantage of at least having, 50 to 100 pages per story, so they could use a lot of the monsters and a lot of the creatures in that movie. In fact, I think Goosebumps, the movie, probably would have been better had it been an anthology film, though I did enjoy the first Goosebumps movie quite a bit. So I think they worked with what they had, considering that the stories are very short, but I think the story they kind of wrote around outside of the stuff that was already established in the books, like everything they came up with that wasn't in the books, involving the character of Sarah and kind of trying to solve this mystery of like why these kids are getting picked off and how the book works and everything. I don't think that was, I think they kind of borrowed that a little too much from other stuff. So honestly, if you're outside of the YA demographic, you're probably not going to get a lot out of this film unless you have a really strong nostalgia for the books. So it has potential, but it borrows too much from other things we've seen before, and it goes a little too far in parts of some of the gross outs and shock value. So overall, I would give Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark a C, a 7 out of 10, and a 3 out of 5 stars. It's worth watching at least once, but probably never again.